Hello there, and welcome to my interactive discussion on calculating lower of cost or market. Calculating the lower of cost or market for an item has a sequence of steps that you must follow, and this interactive discussion is going to walk you through those steps using several examples. Please read the pages in your textbook on this topic so you understand the terminology I'll be using, because I'm not going to explain that, I'm just going to use it. And then watch this podcast while referencing page 4 of the student handout. Sometimes I'll calculate lower of cost or market, demonstrating it for you, and other times I'll have you calculate it, compare it to what I did. As we proceed, please note the sequence with which you follow events. First, you need to calculate what market value is, and that is a calculation. You'll look at your replacement cost and subject it to a ceiling and a floor. If the replacement cost is within the ceiling and floor, you'll use it. If it's above it, you'll use the ceiling. If it's below it, you'll use the floor. That is how you calculate what market is. And once you have what market is, you can compare it to cost and do the lower of cost or market calculation for each item. That sounds a little confusing, but I think it will become clear as we get started. So let's do that. Go to page 4 of your handout. On page 4, we're going to use an item calculation demonstrating a company called Updike. And just to make it more interesting, you can assume Updike has 1,000 units of these chips at the end of the counting period, and the unit cost for each chip is always going to be $60. We're going to assume that there's a distribution cost associated with selling these of $3, and then that the normal profit on this particular item would be $5. That can be given to you in a percent or an amount. I've chosen to give it to you in amount. If it's given it to you in a percent, times that percent times profit. Once you know these numbers, you can calculate what replacement cost is and then do a lower of cost or market calculation. We'll do number A first, and I've done that one for you, but let's talk our way through it. Our sales price is $61, and our sales price is used to help calculate the ceiling. The ceiling is sales price minus normal distribution costs of $3. So our ceiling is going to be $58. The replacement cost of this inventory can't be any higher than $58 because that's the most this inventory is worth to us. Now let's calculate the floor. The floor starts with where we left off on the ceiling, and this is called net realizable value. So it starts with net realizable value, $58, and subtracts normal profit, which in our case is 5, which means the floor is going to be $53. And notice our cost to replace is 50. So now we're ready to pick what we're going to use for market. Market can't be higher than 58 or lower than 53, and 50 is lower than 53, so we're going to use $53 for market. Now, which is lower, cost or market? And you could say, well, market's lower, and we'll use $53 as the replacement cost. Well, that was fast and busy, wasn't it? Let's do number B together. Let me get my pen back. I still have my eraser. The sales price on item B is going to be $66. There'll be $3 of distribution costs, so it's going to be $63 as our ceiling. So we've calculated our ceiling, net realizable value, sales price minus the $3 distribution. Now we need to calculate the floor, which is 63 minus our normal profit. This time we happen to know that in terms of dollar amount. 63 minus 5 is 58. So the ceiling is 63 and the floor is 58. Let's grab our replacement cost now. That's always given, and it's 57. And I want you to notice that we have a replacement cost where we can go out and buy it for $57, but it's worth no more than 63 to us and no less than 58. Since replacement cost is below that floor, we would use the floor for market value in this case. So now we know what market value is. We're ready to do the lower of market cost or market test. 58 is lower than 60, so the lower of cost or market for this item would be $58. Let's try another calculation. You take sales price, $68, and subtract from it your distribution costs or any remaining costs. For us, it's distribution. That gives us 65. Our ceiling is therefore $65. $65 net realizable value, that's called, minus our normal profit on this, gives us our floor of 60. Our replacement cost, we could go out and buy this for right now and replace in our inventory, is 61. Look at that. Our replacement cost is inside the relevant range. It is between 65 and 60. So we'll use this because we prefer to use this if we can, and in this case we can. So we're going to use our replacement cost as 61. Now we're down to the lower of cost or market test. And cost is lower than market. So we went through all of that just to determine that cost is the lower of cost or market. Let's do one more and then pass it to you, shall we? So it starts with the sales price, $50 minus normal distribution costs. That leaves you a ceiling of $47. That's net realizable value. Let's take net realizable value minus our normal profit of $5, and that shows you that our floor is 42. So we know our ceiling and floor, and we note that our replacement cost is $44. $44 is inside of this relevant range. It's about right here. So I can use 44 because it's within the relevant range. So I have a $44 replacement cost that I can use. Now I can do the lower of cost or market test, which is lower. In our last case, it was cost. In this case, it's market. We would value this piece of inventory at $44. Let's have you put this on pause and calculate item E in our inventory, and you work yourself all the way through determining which is lower, cost or market. Calculated the ceiling to be $56, sales price minus distribution costs. We calculated the floor to be net realizable value minus normal profit margin, and then we listed replacement cost. And hopefully you noted that replacement cost is above the ceiling, and so you can't use it. You'll be subject to the ceiling in this case. So you'd use 56, which is lower, market or cost. In our case, it's 56, and we use the ceiling is the lower of cost or market. Let's do another one. You do it, put me on pause, and come back and tell me what you get for lower of cost or market. We calculated our ceiling as sales price minus the $3.50, our floor minus the normal profit, $45. Our replacement cost is $48. $48 is within the relevant range. It is between 50 and 45, so we can use it. So market in this case would be $48. It's within the relevant range, and the lower of cost or market is 48. Let's do another one. Our ceiling on item G is $70. Our floor on item G is 65. Our replacement cost is 59. The replacement cost is below the floor, so we would use the floor as market value of 65. And now we can do the lower of cost or market test. And in our last case, it was market, but now look, its cost. This item would be valued at $60. Let's do the next one together, shall we? So our sales price is, hold on, I have my eraser. Our sales price is $65. Our normal cost to distribute are 3, so we'll use 62 as our ceiling, calling that our net realizable value. 62 minus 5 is 57. That will be our floor. Our replacement cost happens to be 61. 61 is indeed within the relevant range. It's just under the ceiling. So since we can use that, we will. Which is lower, our cost or our market? And in this case, once again, it's cost. Now, let's have you do the final one. Actually, I'm noticing there's two. How about you do the final two and then come back and check your answers. Welcome back. How'd you do? I picked 60 in the first example and 57 in the second. That second has one of our limitations coming into play. Notice our ceiling is 57 and notice our floor is 52. Our replacement cost, which is always given, is 59. The 59 was more than the ceiling, or it was outside of the relevant range. So we couldn't use it. We needed to use 57 as our market value, and we did, and then we selected lower of cost or market, and 57 ruled the day. That then is the way that you calculate lower of cost or market per item. And you would go through your inventory, and if you needed to do a lower of cost or market adjustment, you would calculate it per item, and then you could use these costs that you come up with, the lower of cost or market, to value your ending inventory, and then make an adjustment to go with lower of cost or market. That adjustment will be covered in a future podcast. Thanks for joining me.